Welcome to Give Me 5 Minutes, WTM Africa's on-site podcast where we capture the pulse of the show floor with dynamic conversations. I am your host, Ondela Mlandu, broadcasting from our very own Soundgarden recording studio right here at the CTICC. Let's dive in. Joining me today is Marko Marko Stavro. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Marko Stavro is the founder of GenLink. He's a speaker as well as an investor. Marko, thank you so much for joining us at the Soundgarden.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Please tell us a little bit more about GenLink.
Sure. So 5 years ago, I was at a Standard Bank event as a client, and one of the executives came up to me and said, we're facing a generational change where we're seeing in the workforce, we're seeing in our clients that there's a disconnect between young people and all generations really, and that's caused by what I call the Great Rewire, which happened between 2010 and 2015, where young people's brains literally changed physically because of technology, overprotective parenting and social media. And so because of that, we designed a series of Future Leader Academy events designed specifically for the youth, and that was kind of my first stage into what has become GenLink, which is linking generations. And today we've helped over 50 organizations from a marketing point of view and a graduate and culture point of view connect to the youth.
That's incredible. And how is your business adapting its product design and marketing to appeal to a more digital savvy audience?
So I'm always on the digital front end and learning. I mean, I listen to many podcasts a day and travel and explore, and kind of like you, with AI and with what's happening with technology, if you're not constantly learning, you feel inadequate and you feel not incapable to actually produce and change and innovate. And so I think always trying to stay ahead in that front. Then also from a practical point of view, it's like, what does the market say? Because a lot of people think their product or ideas are valuable, but the market determines that. So I'm always like, how do I listen to my customers more? How do I listen to the market more? How do I listen to parents and young people more? And then those things must be indicators for my product.
Speaking of AI, there's a lot of mistrust, uncertainty. A lot of people are still, uneasy when it comes to AI. So how do you ensure that you build trust across your sector and across your customer base to ensure that their experience is a meaningful one?
I think it's by building relationship first. So what's happened is, I speak about this thing called the Peter Pan paradox. If you know Peter Pan, the story,
Yes.
He goes to Neverland, and that's a place where there's no responsibilities and he wants to do whatever he wants. So what I've noticed is that the children of today, 28, are actually 18 years old. Because what happens is their authority has grown in the sense that they can do more with AI, they can do more with technology, but their maturity and EQ and SQ skills have decreased. So if you speak to the average young person, they're either anxious, 72% of Gen Z are anxious sometimes all the time, or they've got a master's degree but they can't find a job or they can't find their place in life. And so thinking about how do we still first build relationship and foundation first, because that will be the epitome of then as technology changes, and then we have that trust to adapt and to also fail, because I think many Africans are afraid of failure, and we need to get rid of that culture set and move towards one of, if you fail, it's actually the start, it's not the end.
Yeah, it reminds me of that term, failing forward. I don't think we embrace that enough.
Totally.
And then my final question to you. What do you think is the biggest shift when you're looking at the travel industry?
Yeah.
What is the biggest shift in this industry, and how are you preparing for it? How is GenLink preparing for it?
So what I'm always saying to my customers is that we're living in one of the loneliest times in life. And what's being shown is that solo traveling is only increasing because people actually don't have friends or family to travel with. So there's an interesting website called Torlina where you can find a travel buddy across the world and meet certain criteria. And it started off as just only women, now it's mixed. And so you can actually travel with people. What I'm saying to people is we need to double down on that loneliness emotion and get our products and services to best serve that. Because what people are saying is, I'm actually tired of spending 7.5 hours a day on my phone and being in work and working a 9 to 5 and being like in this space where I feel like my life is just a kind of running and spinning. And actually now we craving that IRL experiences, whether that's travel, whether that's safari, and that's why I think Africa is just poised for such amazing growth, because we have the best experiences in the world and we have the best people. And so therefore I think tourism is only going to grow, and I think firstly digitizing what we do as a tourist, I think we're quite old in our techniques and our strategies, and so how do we, number one, digitize what we're doing? bring more awareness to our products and services, and then continue to be customer centric and really focus on, like, I speak about this thing called reducing friction, time to fun. How do we increase the time to fun? So if a product or service is very hard for someone to engage with, they're not going to do it no matter how good it is. And so looking at that as a measurement point for our services.
Thank you so much for that. That was so insightful. I think my final question to you is, how do you emerge storytelling with the work that you do with GenLink?
And that's so important, because people are like, number one, what do you believe with AI, and then two is, we are all just storytellers and we all have narratives, so like it's really important to understand who your narrative is. And one of the things I'm like very grateful for is my grandparents came from Greece, and they really poured into me what it is to be Greek and what it is to be proud. And I think that is such an important essence of who I am, because today I walk around having that in mind. I think a lot of young people are disconnected to their families and to their culture and to their history and heritage. And so I think tapping into that is so important. And then I think finally, just to add, is that we shouldn't be afraid to be African, right? And so sometimes we want to put on this depiction of, the America is the standard of excellence, or the America is the standard of the way things we're doing. Africa's got its own context that we need to live by and apply to. And I think that's what I've been very fortunate and focused on with our GenLink, to say we are African first focused. We do not bring what US consultancies and McKinsey are doing overseas to what we apply ourselves, because the context is different.
Marko, thank you so much for coming to inform us on the importance of bridging the digital divide, as well as the gender, well, not gender necessarily, but the intergenerational divide. It's very important.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was Marko Stavro, who is the founder of GenLink. He's also a speaker and an investor, joining us here at WTM Africa.
Turn any space into a content powerhouse. With Orange Orbit's mobile podcast studio, we bring the full setup to you. Professional mics, multi-camera video, and an on-site technician. Perfect for exhibitions, events, and brand activations. You focus on the conversation. We handle the rest. Recording, editing, and delivery, ready for your channels. Orange Orbit Productions. Real conversations, real content, anywhere.